I'm at Europe's biggest data conference, the Data Natives Conference, in totally packed Kühlhaus Berlin with more than 1,500 attendees. And I just listened to Bart de Witte's keynote speech on a paradigm shift of AI in healthcare. This guy is on a mission because he wants to build a monument for future generations, and he wants to outsource the shit out of AI, as he says. I now have the opportunity to ask him how.
Yes.
Hi, Bart.
Hi. What we created is we created a very strong narrative. Currently, the progression or the opportunities around artificial intelligence are all going towards we have to create startups, unicorns, but nobody realized that with these technologies you can do much more greater things for society. And living in Europe, we have a very different value set when it comes to healthcare. Healthcare is a fundamental right according to Article 35. And so what we had at the beginning is we created a very strong narrative about what we call what is a desirable future. And a desirable future for me is that everybody on this planet has access to digital health services and there is no inequality when it comes to health. Well, that's a very strong narrative. And if you think about that narrative, it's somehow kind of a new religion because it's a new way of thinking about how to use technology. And it's very challenging for a lot of people that you look at AI mostly at something very static. But if you know that AI in 30 to 40 years is going to be much more broader, you know that there will be an AI out there in 30 to 40 years that is as intelligent as all the medical doctors available on this planet. So we said we want to build a foundation that gives a community that we are setting up and tools and supports the community to build this AI and the developments in a framework and under a roof which is based on open source principles. So we are not defining a roadmap. The community is going to do this. This is purely community driven. And there are very good examples on this world already that NGOs have set up communities for 20, 30,000 people, all working for the same purpose, the same vision, like Tech Refugees from Josephine Goubet, or the Enable community on 3D printed hands for prosthetics. This is the new world. We can do with tech whatever we want. Nobody has to define that.
And you actually pre-launched this open source platform today. What is it called?
Yes, we announced it today. It's called Hippo.ai. So,
where does this come from?
Well, Hippo comes from Hippocrates, but as well we needed an animal because if you look at Linux, they have this really cute penguin, and then we said, oh, hey, we need an animal. Why not Hippo? And then Hippocrates choosing a hippo.
And you like animals also, right? I can see a dog printed on your sweater.
Well, that's my dog. No, animals are sometimes really wiser as humans because they are unconditional in terms of love. But the hippo is probably the cutest looking animal, but one of the most dangerous ones. So I think we can be very dangerous for unicorns, which is also an animal but doesn't exist on this planet.
So this is also about collective intelligence? This is something you managed in your talk?
This is about a collective movement. It's about, there is a Clay Shirky wrote a book 10 years ago called The Cognitive Surplus. He's a professor in sociology and he really described well how we as humanity can create communities to do something for the public good. Wikipedia was probably the most obvious example in that time. And if you look at the number of people that are contributing to Wikipedia and the impact it has on the planet, it is minimal. So imagine if you have 30, 50,000 people working on a medical AI that is open source. In 30 years, 40 years, we give our children or grandchildren something that will solve healthcare once and for all.
If somebody sees you on stage, it becomes clear you are passionate about the topic of artificial intelligence and about the topic of healthcare. So where does that come from?
Well, I had the luck to work in the field of AI in healthcare since 5 years. And my initial thoughts was in Europe to work with governments. And I went to different ministers of health, and I even went to the vice president of the EU Commission. And I said we need a Marshall Plan for AI in Europe, because if we don't watch out, we're going to see the same thing happening as what we saw in the search industry. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a big fan of these monopoles when it comes to healthcare. And if we then further think what will happen, and you understand this technology well, healthcare knowledge is becoming a private good, and it was always a public good. And I think if I understand that really well, and I see governments are not doing, I said, okay, then I have to do this as an NGO. I don't want to accept money from a government. I said, we're going to drive this all together. And I'm, yes, very passionate, but I'm very convinced that this will work. I had so many interviews, and I see that I speak out to the heart of so many researchers, doctors, that all are not really fond of a value system that comes from a country across the Atlantic, which is a for-profit-based healthcare system, and a very different healthcare system as what we create in Europe. And they want to protect this, and I think we should.
It's amazing. So it's a highly politically issue.
No, we're an NGO. We don't do politics.
You're an NGO. So where do the people come from? Who will work with you? Which kind of people are you looking for?
So we... AI is based on data science, so we are looking for data scientists, mathematicians, physicians, doctors, people who work in that field. And we are partnering with as well corporates as academic institutes. I was 2 weeks ago in China, and I learned, for example, that they have a lack of 89,000 radiologists. These are kind of numbers you don't realize. Nearly 100,000 radiologists missing in the country. So that means that for companies such as Philips or Siemens that are selling radiology equipment, there is no market. Right. So I think open source is not to destroy market opportunities. This is also creating market opportunities for others. So what we as well is we create collaborations with companies that are doing really good things in healthcare, like lab equipment, radiology equipment, or surgery equipment. But what we do is we allow them to get access to expert knowledge in a very cheap way. So, and that's how we collaborate with. So we want to create an ecosystem of corporates, research centers, and as individuals.
Fantastic. I'm curious, how will people find you? So do you have an idea when the launch will be?
Well, the launch is spring next year, because we are building a platform. We are going to launch with a huge datathon, which is focusing on a specific topic. I don't want to announce the topic yet. We are in discussion on a specific disease that we want to challenge, and that's going to be the start of that movement. And then we are partnering with data natives as well, with Elena in our organization, because she has created a global network of meetups, and we want to create this as a global movement. So then we want to run a lot of datatons, and as well what we call federated offline datatons, that people start working on these challenges offline, like online. But we are very strongly going to be focused on bringing people together and bringing them together for 2-3 days, creating events to work on that same vision and purpose.
Fantastic. I wish you good luck and all the best, and thank you very much for the interview.
The one thing, if I can add,
okay.
one thing that I can add, so what people can do to support us. So if you look at specific foundations and movements, there is, for example, the Ocean Cleaner Project, there is TechFugees. These are all foundations based on specific, very different principles as what you normally would see in economics. Is, of course, we are an NGO. We have to live from your donations. We don't ask for donations yet, but what you can do and support us is to upload a video interview with you telling what your name is, what you are doing, and why you want to join that movement, and upload that on YouTube with a hashtag Hippo.ai Foundation. We will find you and we will put you in content, because we're going to create a lot of content to convince that all people want to follow this movement and be part of this. So Hippo.ai Foundation, hashtag YouTube, your name, your profession, and why you want to join the movement. I would love you to join.
Thank you very much. I wish you all the best, and thank you very much for the interview.